As fast as he dared, Robert crept through the house and made his way out of the back door. "David," he whispered loudly into the night, "is that you?" "Psst, over here," came the answering whisper, and the two boys clutched each other, half fearful, half excited. "What are you doing here?" "I didn't want you going to the cliff by yourself. I was worried about you," said David. "So I waited in the yard as it was getting dark. I saw you at your bedroom window before you closed the curtains, and I really, really hoped I had the right room when I was throwing the pebbles," he grinned. "I'm so glad you're here," admitted Robert. "I don't think I'd like to be on the cliffs by myself after all." The two boys made their way from the farmhouse along the coastal path to the cliffs. It was shadowy, but with a fair scattering of stars and the moonlight, not completely black. Slowly their eyes adjusted to the dark, and they were able to make their way along without having to turn on Robert's torch. The boys huddled down a little way off the path in the wind-blown grass of the cliff. It was cold, with the wind blowing in fits and starts, and every so often the moon would reveal shadows and shapes of birds moving along their nesting ground. For a long while there was nothing, and the boys were getting steadily colder. But just when they were about to give up, there was a sudden bright beam of light flashing on and off out at sea. Robert almost cried out in fear, and David held tightly onto Robert's arm, as from further along the cliff path there was an answering flash of light. "What'll we do?" whispered Robert in David's ear. "Let's move a bit closer to whoever or whatever is up ahead, but not too close." Robert nodded his head, and the two boys moved silently along the path, crouching down and stopping every so often as the light shone in from the sea. They went as close to the light from the cliff as they dared, and then hid themselves again in the rough long grass. From their position they could just make out the shape of a man. He was up ahead from them and had a powerful flashlight, and he was definitely signalling out across the booming sea. The boys moved themselves a little closer, and as the next flash of light came from beyond the maiden, the clouds suddenly revealed the moon, and they could clearly see the man. He was dressed in a heavy coat with the collar turned up around his neck, as though to keep out the cold. Robert, who was closest, pushed himself further into the grass, afraid that if the man turned around he might catch sight of the young boy hidden not that far away from him. But the man was too intent on signalling out to the sea, and after a minute or two more of intense flashing, he suddenly stopped. He clicked off the torch and fumbled about in his coat pocket until he drew out a packet of cigarettes. He turned his back to the sea, and there was a sudden flare of light from the match. The wind blew it out straight away, and the man swore softly under his breath. Robert felt David stiffen beside him. The man had sworn, not in English, but in German. He tried again with another match, this time cupping it carefully so that it lit his cigarette. He stood for what seemed like an age, slowly smoking his cigarette. By now Robert could feel David trembling beside him, but they couldn't move until the man had gone. Eventually the man flicked the butt of the cigarette onto the footpath and walked slowly away from the boys, back in the direction of Innsbrucke village.